There's a sound that still steadies my hands. 2 quick ticks, then one a little longer. My mother's brass stopwatch. It timed my homework when I was 10. It timed my experiments when I was 26. It's timing this story now. My name is Calen Stroud. I used to think science was a ladder you climb alone. One more rung, one more paper, one more hour after midnight. Then I learned it's a bridge you hold up for someone else. And some days, you become the wood. 11 years ago, I won a small thing that felt enormous. The North Star Seed Grant. 6 pages of permission to try. Enough budget to buy exactly one bold mistake. I taped the letter above my desk with blue painter's tape, and there, like a halo made by the ordinary, a coffee ring formed where my mug had leaned. I kept the page anyway. It looked like the moon was blessing a paragraph. Down the hall worked Nadia Quell. Her hair lived in a pencil behind one ear. Her shoes squeaked sorry down waxed floors. She had the kind of curiosity that made questions feel safe, and she had a problem that didn't. Her stipend was frozen. Her lab had lost a freezer. The foundation she'd counted on evaporated. The day I found her in the cold room, she was holding a cracked glass slide up to the light. A crescent scratch ran across it, thin as a whisper, curved like a sliver of moon. "Everything I touch," she said, trying to make a joke, "learns to break interestingly." I'd love to say I was brave. Truth is, I was tired. Of hustling, of smiling with my teeth, of measuring my worth in citations. I kept hearing my advisor's warning. "Don't spread yourself thin, Calen. Not for people who won't be here in 5 years." And I kept hearing my mother's watch. Tick, tick, tick. 2 short, 1 long. Like a little drum saying, choose. So I did. I walked into grants and compliance with a blue index card in my pocket and my heart making typos. I asked the officer a question nobody asks. If the project aims overlap, can the awardee reassign the grant to a colleague? He blinked like a cursor. In rare cases. Why? I signed the form. The pen felt heavier than it should. On the line labeled transferee, I wrote Nadia Quell in letters careful enough to be kindness. I found her at the bench. "I can't take this," she said before I finished the sentence. "It's not yours to refuse," I said, trying to make the moment smaller so it would fit inside her day. Then I put that blue index card by her notebook. On it, in pencil, 4 words I'd written when the coffee ring dried. Prove time is kind. Kindness is not free. It cost me my project. It cost an uncomfortable conversation with my advisor that began with career suicide and ended with disappointed. It cost months. It cost a version of me that only knew how to stand on his own shadow. Nadia didn't spend my gift. She worked it. She spent nights teaching high school chemistry to pay for cell culture plates. She wrote proposals that came back with promising but premature. She ran trials that bloomed beautifully on Tuesday and failed bluntly on Friday. She kept a shoebox under her desk labeled attempts. Inside, torn protocol drafts, a pipette tip fused by accident to a cap, the cracked slide with the crescent scratch she refused to throw away. Between each loss, she'd take out my blue card, thumb the coffee ring, and breathe to the tempo. Tick, tick, tick. Years molted. My classmates left for shinier labs. I stayed in Morrow's Ferry, tutored at the community college, stocked shelves at the pharmacy nights, fixed laptops for neighbors who paid in pie. Every few months, I'd see Nadia in the hallway, eyes ringed by fluorescent lights and belief, and we'd swap 5 minutes of data and 10 minutes of doubt. Somewhere around year 7, a phrase started hitchhiking her sentences. Low-cost, refrigerator stable. Not glamorous, not headline bait, but stubborn. Useful. The kind of design that remembers small towns first. Then the year nobody ordered came. A cough that lingered. A bus driver who didn't finish his route. The word cluster. The word outbreak. And the map on the evening news that stopped pretending it didn't know our name. Morrow's Ferry. Phones chimed, roads closed, power flickered. Freezers failed. The big vaccine candidates, good as they were, demanded a cold chain our hills couldn't keep. Refrigerators could. Barely. Maybe. Nadia's phone wouldn't stop. She'd spent a decade teaching her science to survive ordinary fridges and ordinary budgets and ordinary mistakes. Suddenly, the ordinary was the difference between reaching us and arriving too late. The gym became a clinic. The parquet floor wore tape lines like ribs. People came in coats, in worry, in silence. I stood at the back with my mother's stopwatch in my palm. 2 short, 1 long. Not a prayer, a pattern of patience. A volunteer at the door checked the list. Name? Calen Stroud. She ran her finger, shook her head. Staff only today, I'm sorry. Through the plastic curtains, I saw Nadia Quell in a yellow vest, sleeves rolled, hair in that same pencil. For a second, just a second, some bitter buddy of mine whispered, "See? It didn't matter. You disappeared from the story you carried." I turned to leave. Then I heard the small sound of a vial lifted from its tray. Glass against glove. The quiet clink of something fragile choosing to be strong. I stepped to the side table, put the stopwatch down, and tapped its face like I had 100 times while waiting on water baths and answers. Tick, tick, tick. 2 short, 1 long. Nadia paused mid-motion. Her eyes rose like someone remembering a song they swear they never learned. She looked over. It had been 11 years. Masks covered half our faces. She didn't know me yet, but she knew the tempo. She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out something that shouldn't have survived any of the lives she'd lived since. My blue index card, edges softened by time. Coffee ring now the color of amber. She pinned it to the intake board with a blunt thumbtack, right beside the consent forms and the map of our streets. No speech. Just that circle. Just those 4 words. Prove time is kind. The line moved like a careful river. A farmer rolled up his sleeve, freckles bright as seeds. A teacher laughed once, then cried once, then breathed. A kid asked if it would hurt and then said, braver than the rest of us, "Okay." A nurse dropped a tray. It clattered. No one flinched. Because sometimes a room, all at once, decides to be steady. After the last dose, when the air smelled like disinfectant and winter and hope, Nadia found me by the bleachers. Up close, we were both older in the exact ways we'd earned. "I wasn't brave," I said, words catching like they always do on that first hill. "I was just tired of being the only beneficiary of my own luck." She looked at the stopwatch in my hand. She looked at the card on the board. She didn't say thank you. She did something better. She took the crescent scratch slide from her pocket, the first thing she'd ever broken interestingly, and set it on the metal table between us. Under the gym lights, the little moon on the glass caught fire. We stood there, not talking, while the room took off its worry and put on its coats. The clock on the wall hummed a second louder, as if to hear itself be true. Outside, the river kept being a river. Inside, the tape lines on the floor kept a memory of where our feet had learned to wait. And in my chest, the metronome kept time. 2 short, 1 long, not counting down, not rushing us forward, just holding the beat of a town that now had a shield made from somebody else's second chance. Tick, 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 quiet.